with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Good morning, everybody. Hoop City, Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick. Josh, you're in the command center alone today. I am in my home studio, and thanks for being able to put this all together, my friend.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, it's not that hard. Sometimes the loneliness is okay. I can live.
Oh,
I can deal.
Oh, you poor guy. That sounds so sad.
Oh, things could be a lot worse, Paul. I could be in studio with you. I'm just kidding.
That's true. This is actually a break for you.
Exactly.
Welcome, everybody. We have so much to talk about today. I don't have to. I mean, there's no introduction necessary for anybody that watched the game last night. You saw a classic. You saw an absolute classic. Josh, were you able to watch the game in its entirety or in parts? What was it like?
From national anthem to the Knicks storm in the court. Yeah, I was there for the whole thing.
Okay, what are your thoughts? I get, as you were saying that, and as I was thinking about the game, I get goosebumps thinking about the game. And I've seen a lot of great games over my long life of watching basketball games, but I'll tell you, you can't get any better than that.
No, you really can't. I continue to stay impressed with the efficiency of which Cat plays the game on both ends in this finals. I did not expect that to happen at all, but he has been absolutely nails. Mikal Bridges has really turned his game around for the Knicks and is showing up big time. Steph Castle, he needs to get his fouls under control, but Dylan Harper has been really good in my opinion. So, having to bring him in and leave Castle on the bench, there's worse things in the world, That being said, the top guys, Brunson, he needs to be more efficient, but credit to the Spurs for the way they're defending him. They're picking him up either full court or trapping him in the half court, so they're doing a really good job of that. And Wemby needs to be more aggressive. I think he finished the first half with 4 shots yesterday. He was 2 of 4 from the field. And so when you're the top dog like that, you need to impose your will on the game earlier and not later.
Those are good points and good discussion points, and we will have a lot of discussion this morning about Game 2 and what this means. Games 1 and 2, and what this means going back to the Madison Square Garden in New York City. But I'm excited about the show today. We have a fantastic show. A young man from Edmonton that I've wanted to have on for a long time. A few weeks ago, we had Jeremy Pastorero, who has a long-time coach and basketball community, a high impact person through the St. Francis Xavier program here in Edmonton, and also the West Edmonton Basketball Association WEBA club program, which I think is at the top of the food chain of club programs in Edmonton. But he works alongside a teacher from SFX named Bradley Farish, and Bradley's going to be with us this morning on our second segment. And really looking forward to having a conversation with him. He's accomplished a lot, but I really put great value in what he does in the community as well. We have a real fun pre-record that I just did this morning with my son, Steve, and his friend, but also professional associate, Craig Wilson. And Craig is one of the owners of the fantastic Pivotal Physiotherapy network of facilities around Edmonton. For me, they're the best in the city in terms of physiotherapy. Their new facility, which is an old curling rink over right by Kingsway Mall, is something to behold when you walk in and you see the soccer pitch, the fantastic workout facilities, etc. But anyway, he's over in Warsaw, Poland at the FIBA 3x3 World Cup with the Mongolian teams that Steve coaches. And we go into the weeds, not just on the Mongolian program, but FIBA 3x3 as well. And that's going to lead into some exciting announcements about what we're going to be doing here in Edmonton with 3x3 this summer, but also for the next 3 to 4 years as well. But let's get started right now with your 3 questions and our 3+1 segment, Josh. Oh, first of all, text us 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, let us know. So, Josh, let's go. You had some great questions. I've been excited to talk about these with you.
Thank you. All right. Number 1, last night, obviously, the Knicks take it over the Spurs, 105-104. The headline of the game, obviously, being the last shot of the game. Wemby should know that his best chance to score is at the rim. But Mitch Johnson needs to do a better job of calling a play coming out of the timeout. There's 7 seconds left on the clock. You have a 7'4" guy. I understand Mitchell Robinson's in the game, but run Wemby off some back screens or something. You don't have to inbound it to him either. They inbounded the ball to Fox. Get him the ball, run Wemby off some screens, get him a switch onto a smaller guy. Like, OG Anunoby is a great defender, and he's very strong. However, he cannot jump as high as Wemby's arms get. Just lob it to the guy or something. Like, get him a look at the rim.
You know, I thought a lot about your question, but in watching the game last night, I agree with you in theory, but there are a number of nuanced factors that I think have to be looked at. Number one, what was it, 6.5 seconds that they had?
6.5, like 7, right around there.
Yeah, right around there. Not a lot of time. One of the things that happened when they inbounded the ball to Fox is he took a long time. He caught the ball and took a real casual dribble before passing it over to Wemby. Wemby's shot was a decent shot for a guy who can make that shot. And I'll come back to your point because I agree. You know, you make a great point. Why have a 7'5" guy shooting from 17 feet guarded instead of shooting from hopefully 6 to 8 feet guarded still, but your chances of A, making it, percentages would seem to be higher, and B, getting fouled also seems to be more likely from that distance. Here's where Wemby, this is one of the things that Wemby is going to have to be working on to improve, and I'm sure he will over the course of his career. If you watch that final shot by Wemby, he's off balance and he falls down again. Wemby falls a lot. Some of it is because guys are just beating the heck out of him the entire game, and he's getting bumped, pushed, shoved, hacked the entire game. But some of it's him in terms of how he gets his shot, and oftentimes he's off balance. He doesn't have his feet under him. Why does a 7'5" guy have to fade from 17 instead of just going straight up and forcing Robinson to come into him? Now, Robinson could crowd him, play excellent defense, and he could miss the shot. Or he could come into him too far, not give him space to land, and Wemby could get fouled and go to the free throw line with a chance to tie or win it. So I think your points are well taken. The problem Wemby has, because I go back and forth with my friends down in St. Paul who are friends with Sean Sweeney, who is the associate head coach, soon to be head coach of the Orlando Magic, whose primary responsibility with the Spurs is defense. But we go back and forth, and my point is to your point. Why is Wemby always playing so far from the basket? He got much better in the fourth quarter, much more under control, much more. He had some back to the basket, some at the baskets, and some 15 to 17 foot face-up shots where he got to the basket. It was much better. So your point's well taken. Was not a great shot. Well, it shouldn't say that. If it goes in, it's a great shot. Exactly. It was a good look. I wouldn't call it a great look, but it was a good look. But they should have had a better look. And I think that's your point.
Yes, they should have had a better look. And I agree with you that Wemby needs to do better. But Mitch Johnson, you are getting outcoached by Mike Brown. Like you called that timeout for a reason. I want to see a better shot than a mid-range shot. You have to give yourself the highest percentage play at the end of the game, and that was not it. especially because
so often you see, Josh, in those tight situations at every level, but at the NBA level, where teams settle for shots. You know what bugs me more than Wemby's shot is Fox's catch and casual dribble.
Yep.
He had 6.5 seconds. He didn't catch with urgency. I thought Fox had a good game last night. I thought he was very good. He was instrumental along with Harper in the comeback in the fourth quarter, which was magnificent, by the way.
Oh, it was fantastic.
As was Wemby. It was fantastic.
They operated, and like obviously that 14-0 run started in the timeout that they had, where clearly they did not call any plays or anything. It was Wemby saying, guys, we all need to get our poop in a group here. He was very animated on the bench. I don't think the camera left him for the entire timeout, and I don't think they cut to commercial either. I think it was literally just on Wemby, very emotionally telling people to, like, we got to lock in here.
It was a moment. Now, the problem with that, and it's not a problem in and of itself, but Wemby has done that more than once. Last night was an impassioned plea, and it paid off. That is effective with a young basketball team.
Yep.
To raise the level of emotion on a young basketball team is really important. But you watch the Knicks and how they play, and it's much more controlled.
Yep.
That's the difference between experience and inexperience. So be that as it may, what a great basketball game.
Fantastic.
And dramatic. We're going to come to the key play down the stretch in a bit, but let's go to your second question.
All right, number 2, with the Knicks being up 2-0 and the series heading back to MSG, it's time to start looking at who the finals MVP might be, and to me, it is pretty cut and dry. I mentioned him at the top of the show. Karl Anthony Towns has not only been the Knicks' best player, but he's been the best player on the court, and if the Knicks win, he will be awarded the finals MVP award.
Couldn't agree with you more. Karl Anthony Towns is the aged fine wine of the NBA Finals. Towns, even up to 2 years ago, before he was traded from the Wolves to the Knicks, was an erratic, unpredictable offensive player and a non-existent defensive player. That's all changed. I think a lot of it has to do with Karl's perspective on losing his mom. He refers to his mom. I mean, his 2 post-game interviews have been really touching about his mom being with him and how important. But he really has embraced the moment. But his coming on with the Knicks this season, and you have to give Mike Brown credit. Mike Brown has empowered the Knicks. I would equate it to how Steve Kerr empowered the Warriors when they figured out that the outrageous shots that Steph Curry was taking were great shots, where coaches before wouldn't have figured that out. They would have tried to rein Steph in, as Mark Jackson did when he was the head coach of the Warriors before he got let go and replaced by Kerr, which at the time was a very controversial decision. But in Kerr's case, he unleashed not just Steph Curry, but Klay Thompson and the Draymond Green. Do you think Draymond Green would be a potential or will be a certain Hall of Famer if he literally was on any other team in the NBA? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I agree with your assessment. Towns has been the best player. He was magnificent in the second quarter last night when the Spurs came out with all that youthful emotion and piss and vinegar in the first quarter, went up big, and then Towns settled them down and pretty much single-handedly in the second quarter took it to the Spurs and took it to Wemby.
Yep.
And it was fantastic. Now, that the baton changed hands in the third and fourth quarter with Mikal Bridges, with OG Anunoby, along with Towns' play. But it was one of the many contributions that by Knicks players not named Jalen Brunson. And you're right. If the MVP was awarded today, clearly it would go to Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, and not even just like what he's doing offensively, but to get the defensive rebounds over Wemby. He is boxing out like a madman. Like he is really putting it to Wemby, and Wemby should be able to get up and get those boards, but he's putting every ounce of energy he can into keeping him away from the basket and getting it himself.
Well, he is. And there was a great offensive rebound in the second half where he boxed Wemby out and pushed him out. And Wemby was helpless. Like, he looked helpless against Towns and what he was doing. Towns is playing old school basketball. A lot of his peers have kidded Towns about being an ABA player.
Yeah.
You know, the old NBA guy kind of plodding up and down, not particularly fast. But what he may lack in explosiveness, and by the way, where are all those explosive players right now? They're at home watching this on TV.
It's true.
While Towns is in there doing his damage. So I agree with you. I think Towns has been fantastic, but one of the many fantastic pieces on this really tough-minded and tough physical playing New York Knicks, who really have their focus at, going at full tilt right now.
Speaking
number 3, my friend,
of the Knicks' focus, my pre-series prediction on the Kevin Carrier show, I believe day of Game 1 was Spurs in 7. I'm going to stand on business with that prediction. I still think they'll win in 7. Even if I'm wrong, which I likely am, the Knicks will not sweep this series.
I don't think the Knicks will sweep this series. One of the things I think that we are witnessing in real time is, well, and I'll actually phase that into, because my +1 commentary right after your questions, Josh, is on the ladder versus the elevator. The Knicks have taken the ladder up to getting to this point in their career, one rung at a time, oftentimes going up 2 rungs and coming back 1, going up 2, coming back 3. Success, failure, 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 success, failure. That hardening of steel. That's what we're witnessing with the Knicks, as we have with so many other teams in NBA history. Chicago Bulls, for instance, and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan just didn't come into the league a la Wemby and just take over because he was this young guy who was ripping it up.
Yep.
There were hard lessons that had to be learned, and the Knicks have learned those lessons. And they not only, I'm not saying they value this moment more than the Spurs, but they certainly understand this moment more than the Spurs, because they have been fighting, scratching, and clawing over a period of years to get to this point. And they are at this point, and they are not letting anything to this juncture, crossroads in the series, get in their way. Of course, I will disagree with you. Yeah. I think the Knicks will win this. I think, though, what we have I was thinking, what's the most likely scenario, Josh, on how San Antonio can win this series? And what I came up with was
come back from down 3-1. Yeah.
Just get one. Get one in Madison Square Garden. Because now where they do have experience is if they're down 3-1 and go back to San Antonio, they win that. Now they're down 3-2. They just won in Oklahoma City in Game 7. They know what it's like to win a critical, pressure-packed game on a hostile home court.
Yep.
So that is where their experience could be drawn on if they can take one in MSG.
I would go one step further and say you have to take Game 3 in MSG. Monday night, you have to go in there and you have to show up and you have to show out because obviously if they go up 3-0, nobody in the history of the NBA has ever come back down from 3-0.
Right.
We saw it come close a couple of times, but no cigar. But you need to take Game 3 and really assert some dominance of we are those guys. But yeah,
you know what? I think that's a very well put and a great observation, Josh, because I think you're 100% correct. They have to go in. They have to win this game. Mm-hmm. Then they can, battle it out in Game 4, knowing that they are going back to their friendly confines back in San Antonio. The other thing about the Knicks is Mikal Bridges has been outstanding through the playoffs, incredibly efficient. He's not going to go 8 for 9. Probably again, like he did leading up. Now, he ended up 8 for 12, but he was 8 for 9 before he missed his last 3 shots. That most likely isn't going to happen again. I don't know if a winning formula can be, and I chalk this up as much to the inexperience of the Spurs as I do to the toughness of the Knicks. You can't win over a 7-game series with Brunson going 7 for 25.
You need
and having
Brunson to be better.
Pardon me?
You need Brunson to be better. Yeah.
Well, better,
efficient.
But I think also
he needs to be
it shows
more efficient.
Well, he has to be more efficient. The Spurs' defensive strategy was really interesting.
Yep.
And we'll cut off after this because we'll bring Brad on shortly. And we'll continue this in our third segment this morning. But where this would lead to is the Spurs' defensive strategy actually, and there was a great article this morning and breakdown on film about their defensive strategy, and Brunson's inefficiency actually played to the Knicks' advantage because of all the offensive rebounds that they got, and the attention on Brunson took them out of rebounding position. A lot of the rebounds were long rebounds, and the Knicks, I mean, Josh Hart is like a bricklayer out there.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The guy cannot make a basket, and yet they are better with him on the court just because he does all that little stuff, like getting the long rebound, like getting the 50-50 balls, like setting tough screens, playing tough defense. Like it's a real interesting dynamic right now. But my gosh, we have such a great series, and we haven't even touched on the last play, which we will do again in segment number 3 about the last play of Wemby's faux pas, we will call it,
Sure.
Down the stretch. So why don't we take a break right now, and we'll bring Brad Farish from SFX and the WEBA basketball program on to Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick. Thanks so much for being with us on Saturday, and we'll be right back. Hoop City with Paul Sir. Glad you're with us this morning. I always love this segment every week, the Community Champions segment, and it's sponsored by our good friends over at Innovative Benefits. If it's time for you to review your company benefits strategy, personal insurance, or investment plans, talk to Randy Parrish and his great team over at Innovative Benefits. They will give you straightforward and honest advice with access to the very best products in the industry. Trust the great folks at Innovative Benefits to do what's best for you, your family, and your business. To find out more, go to innovativebenefits.com. Like I said, I love this segment on the Community Champions because there's so many people in our community that walk the walk and put the time in, put the effort in, and do it for the right reasons. And this certainly is one of those people. Brad Farish is the head coach at the St. Francis Xavier High School boys basketball program. He also, and I'm not exactly sure of your title, Brad, at WEBA, but is it director, CEO, president of the world?
President.
Where are we at?
Technically president, but it's more of a figurehead position, more just running the boys' side and director of the boys' side.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Brad. I'm really pleased you're here. And this past year, let's start with your high school program at SFX. You have had one of the top programs in the province for many years. Now, this past year, you finished second in the provincial championships. Year before, you won, as I recall, the provincial championship. Yep. Talk about the success that you're having at SFX, because I think it's fair to say, and no disrespect meant to any other program in the city, but SFX has been consistently the most competitive high school program in the city for quite some time now, year on year. What do you attribute that success to?
Well, I mean, the people that we've got in our program are fantastic. I mean, I can't, there's no world where I'm going to act like it was all me. There's no secret that the last 3 years have been fantastic. And, for 3 years, we've had kids like Elijah Thomas and Elijah Johnson and Alex Popovich. And, there's just a big crew of kids who've been here for the last 3 years. And then obviously, Coach Jeremy Postrero as well. And so as a collective, I mean, we've really established a culture that has obviously been successful. And I don't think, I could have done it on my own without any of the individuals mentioned. And I don't know if they could have done it without me. It was really just a cohesive group. And
It takes a village.
Just building a culture that, it really does. Yeah, like 100% takes a village. And I gave credit. I mean, I didn't name them, but I always look back to, there was a group of kids. I can't remember what year it is, but it would be before like the grade 10 year of Elijah. So it'd be 3 years ago, I guess. I mean, that group was the one that kind of like put us on the trend that we're on right now. And I always look back to that group and reflect on them, because they're a big part of that village as well. Like without them, we wouldn't have really turned things to the, trend that we're on now. They just had the character and the hard work and the willingness to kind of, okay, whatever Coach Brad says goes, and we're able to kind of flip the script on like what it meant to be an FX basketball player. And and that's how we got to where we are now.
So, it's interesting, Brad, because I did a pre-recorded interview this morning with my son, Steve, who's the head 3x3 national team coach in Mongolia. And he talked about a couple of his players as well on the women's side who are so instrumental to the big strides that they're making. What you're describing is when you don't have to motivate, because as you know, one of the most frustrating things a coach has to do is to coach effort, because that means you're not coaching. When you're coaching kids, trying to get them to work hard, you're not coaching what they're supposed to be doing when they're playing. So when you have leaders like that and cornerstones like that who pull then and demand that the others match their effort, that makes the coach's job, I don't want to say easier, but more focused on what you need to do to become a better basketball team. Fair statement?
For sure. Like it allows you to, absolutely. If I'm always, I mean, it like even the things that we want to do, like we want to have one of the big cornerstones was we wanted to have a certain brand for like our defense, right? Like defense first kind of program. And we wanted to have a certain style of play and a certain attitude on that end. We always talk about our personalities too. Like, we have varying defenses that have varying personalities. It's impossible to like actually establish that if you're, because none of it works. Like it's not going to work if a kid's not giving 100% into what you're trying to do. Like it doesn't matter. You could have the greatest scheme and the greatest system and the greatest X's and O's, and like it all won't matter if you don't have the type of kid that's able to actually bring that plan into fruition and make it effective.
Well, Brad, you obviously have that kind of kid, and you have had those kind of kids over the last few years. Is there a correlation? Is there a direct relationship from the work that you, Jeremy's father, and the other wonderful coaches that you have in the WEBA program? Is there a direct correlation for the success at SFX based on the work that you're doing in the WEBA program? Are most of your kids in your club program? Does that work that you do there and the emphasis that you put on their growth and progression as players, does that translate into the success you're having at SFX as well?
You can't have one without the other. Most of the kids that, find success at FX have been within the WEBA program for a long time prior. It's not as if, we always try and make sure that people understand that, that they're correlated by almost coincidence. Like it's like people like what they see within the WEBA structure, the organization, the style of play, the practice first mentality, the, building kids and their character, both on the court, and off the court. And then as a result are like, hey, like I want to, stay a part of something like this and kind of transition into the FX side of things so that they can just stay amongst that community. But for sure, you are working with the idea that, kids are born with a certain set of character, and then that's just like who they are. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like, people can change and all this type of thing. Like, I certainly think that not every kid enters into WEBA in grade 7 ready to be like a hardworking, gritty, high character kid. I do think that it's not just me. Like, I think there's a lot of osmosis, like by the time, because we like to like try and really establish like a community piece, and that's really made my job, like if you want to talk about making my job easier, like that part has, where we have our U17 kids who I've worked really hard with for many years, you know, integrated with our U13 kids, and they kind of like, hey, like that's how the older kids do it, you know, like I want to do it that way, and then I don't have to be the one, you know, trying to instill these things all the time. I can just be there to help mold and correct. And but like without WEBA, you know, we wouldn't have. I think through WEBA, they for sure developed the character types and the style of play and the attitude and just the passion as well. Like, I think that's an important piece for basketball, because how can you not? Like, everybody within WEBA is so passionate and so dedicated, and you just kind of naturally, it just happens organically.
That's you know, as I'm sitting here listening, I think that's an interesting observation. It's happening organically. But what I would say, it's happening organically because of the way you fertilize and till the soil.
Sure.
Because the organics come out of all of that work. Two quick observations. Number one, the overused term culture applies in spades to what you do at both WEBA and SFX. Mm-hmm. It's mindful, it's purposeful, it's intentional. The culture that you build, and not just build, but maintain, first of all, Brad. And that's, I think, a huge compliment to you and everyone involved. But number two, when you said to me the key thing, practice as the point of emphasis in club development, because I make no bones about this, one of my biggest criticisms of the club world is its placebo, sugar-coated emphasis on game. And the problem with that is there's many problems with that. One of them is it's like a bus. If I lose this one, if I play like crap, there's always another one coming along. That doesn't mean I get back in the gym and work on it. It just means I'm playing more games. You guys don't do it that way, do you?
No, we most certainly don't. We'll put it like, part of what we do too, just coming to mind right away, is we want to help the parents understand it as well. Like, you know, like I want them to know like what we're doing that helps make their child successful, the why and whatever. And we'll straight up in the WEBA, you know, parent slide for our parent meetings that we'll do at the start of every year. We'll put as like one of the first bulletin points, and what we've coined like the WEBA way is practice over games. Like the ratio, like I'm bothered in the club season, and we're probably, there's not many clubs that would match us in terms of the ratio of like practice to games, and still it bothers me. And I'll like bring it up with the kids often. Like FX, I mean, we'll practice, you know, 20 plus times before we play one game, right? Like at the start of the year, mind you, but like that's like, you know, we're trying to get our system going, and we're trying to establish culture and establish style of play and find roles. And, you know, it's a lot of work, right? And the club season, it's like I get 3 practices or 4 practices before a tournament. And it, you know, I always tell the kid, I've been telling them all season this year that, guys, we got to make this practice feel like 3 practices. Like that's how efficient we got to be, and you know, how attentive and engaged we have to be, because I want to make this practice feel like 3 practices. And then that way, if we get 2 this week, really it feels like 6, and we try and get as much value out of it as we possibly can.
Yeah. You know, it's like music for me. Like I'm listening to, like the way I look at club programs, it's like bubblegum music. Everything's hype on, and you guys do a great job online, and you have to do that today. You guys do a great job of celebrating online, but you know, so much of this is hype, and you hit on a key thing. And these are my opinions, by the way, Brad. I'm not trying to project. I'm highly critical of the club world for a whole lot of reasons that I think are sound.
Sure.
But one of them is you talk to the parents about practice. You emphasize hard work. Practice over games. That's a European model. Why do we think Jokic, Luka come over here and kill in the NBA and have a much better game overall than so many North American players? It's because that's the way they do it in Europe. And you guys really have a European mentality when it comes to your club program, because if you're going to get better, you have to practice. You're not a ballet dancer by going and dancing in a whole bunch of competitions. You got to practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're doing that, it all comes out in the wash, because when your kids are in tough situations, and I'm speaking mostly at the high school level, Brad, the reason you're successful in tough situations is because of all the practice time you put into it. You've prepared them for this moment, as opposed to just playing games, which, like I said, it's like cotton candy. You eat it and it tastes great, and then you go on to the next one. So kudos to you that you're so, again, I'm going to use the term intentional, and you educate the parents, because a lot of times I think parents hear the message of hype and, oh, we're going to go to all these tournaments and all these people are going to see your kid, blah, blah, blah. We all know the story. So kudos to you and your team for establishing your values and maintaining them.
Thank you. Yeah, it's, honestly, it comes down to we just reflected, we just reflected on, or at least I did. And again, a lot of this has come from me and Jeremy working together, and it's not like it's just me, but I do remember a period of time where, whatever I was doing wasn't really working. And I just reflected on, okay, what do we have to change? It's just, you spoke about it being European model, no doubt it matches up. But I think ultimately why that appears that way is, honestly, it's like I want kids to develop and get better, and I want them to find success. And as a program, obviously, it's the reward of the hard work is supposed to be winning, so we want to win. And so just, okay, that is not helping us win. Let's change it. Let's do something that does. And practicing more than playing games seem to win long term, for sure.
Well, and in our first segment, I talked about the ladder versus the elevator, and definitely WEBA, SFX, you're taking the ladder. You have to go one step at a time. You really can't take steps. You can win games because you have more talent. That would be taking the elevator, but you can't win championships if you don't climb the ladder, because at some point somebody's going to be better than you talent wise, but you still have a shot at them if you've taken the ladder and you've prepared for that moment.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you got to have the foundation. I think that's what it came down to with this year is we ended up, I really, I know people argue with me and say that, we definitely had very talented kids, no doubt. There's a group of kids this year that we had that were extremely talented, but man, were we undersized. We really, if you actually really analyze our team, of the teams in the last 3 years, there's a whole lot of reasons or excuses that you could make. I would never make them with my team, but, reflecting on it now that the season's over, the excuses you can make as to why our team shouldn't have really been as successful as it was. But we had the foundation in place. We had the culture in place. We had just the way the kids played. And we weren't able to best Holy Trinity, I think, because they had the same things, right? It's it was kind of both teams had established them, they had that foundation, they laid the floor, and just they were a little bit bigger and a little bit more talented, and credit the coaching and the team over there. They were fantastic. So the good part about that is, you feel like you lost and it's terrible, but at least you lost to somebody who, I think they deserve it, and they were fantastic. But it goes to show, there were some teams that we beat that I don't know if we really had business beating them on the roster sheet, athletic wise and kind of hype wise, really, since you mentioned hype. But we had those foundations in place, so it helped us win for sure.
Foundation, yeah, and I think you've summarized it really, really well. When you have a foundation like that, you give yourself a chance to be successful against more talented opponents. So that's a real tribute to you, Brad, and Jeremy, and everybody that's so committed to this. I've enjoyed this. You are truly a community champion, Brad. I want to, keep up the good work. Like I said, I respect and I trumpet what a great program WEBA is, the outstanding work that you and your group do at SFX, and I wish you all success in the future And thanks so much for joining us and
Thank
being
you,
our
Paul.
community champion this week.
I appreciate it, Paul. I appreciate what you do for the community as well. Also, thank you so much.
You bet. Brad Farish, head coach, St. Francis Xavier, president, WEBA basketball, joining us here on Hoop City. When we come back, Josh and I are going to go back to the Spurs game, and we're going to continue digging into all the different factors and all the different considerations that are unfolding in this great series that we're watching right now in the NBA Finals. Hoop City, Paul Sir, thanks for joining us here on Saturday. We'll be right back after these messages. Hoop City, Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick joining you. A great conversation with I'll tell you, just an outstanding young man in Brad Farish, but that WEBA program, as people can hear, I can't sing their praises enough. Let's get back to San Antonio and the New York Knicks here. Josh, and I'm joined by Josh Fenwick. Okay, let's get to the ugly, good, the bad, and the ugly. But let's go with the ugly. Fourth quarter, San Antonio's down 14. Wemby, as you pointed out in our opening segment, has that emotional diatribe in the huddle that people couldn't take their eyes off. Mm-hmm. And how do the Spurs respond? This young, gutsy Spurs team, they respond marvelously. De'Aaron Fox, Harper, Wemby, they all kind of lead the way. Other contributions. But let's talk. There's many nuances in that comeback that led to the result. But let's talk about the big one, which is Wemby gets the rebound, down one, takes a dribble with his left hand and makes the pass that hits the back of Castle. Poorly thought out, poorly executed, obviously distracted in the moment. To me, like a lot of people think, well, God, that's got to be devastating. In the moment, yes. Will Wemby respond? I think so. Absolutely. Part of his maturation. But I think what we saw in that moment was what we have talked about, Josh. That's where inexperience comes in. Mm-hmm. You make bad decisions. He did the same thing in the first half.
Yep.
And he did it again in the second. I mean, emotions run high. Experience runs deep. And I think in that moment, that's what we witnessed, was a young player making a young player's mistake.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree.
Bless you.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree. If you're Wemby and you have that, you have to, one, recognize that Castle is not turning to you to ask for the ball. He's in full run mode. Like he's expecting to run and gun. You're the best player on the court. Just keep the ball and run it up. I think game one got to him because he did that and he dribbled it off his own foot, right? And then possession turns, Knicks come down, they score. So I think he was like, if I get this out of my hands, we'll be able to reset the offense and everything will be fine. And he ends up having another crucial turnover at the end of the game. He's just got to be willing to be like, it's my ball. It's my ball. We'll figure it out when we get down there. But currently, like, game's running late. We have all the momentum. We would rather run a play against an unset defense than call a timeout and figure something out. And then, obviously, he throws it off Steph Castle's back. Brunson gets it, goes to the line, and then you are gifted a missed free throw where you only need a layup or anything to seal the win to the game. Brunson is not a guy that misses free throws late in the game. And yet, here we are, rims out. Mitch Johnson takes a timeout. Like, it was a very consequential sequence for the Spurs and Wemby specifically.
It really was. And what's interesting is if you look at there's a series of turning points in this game, of which that was one, and probably the most gaudy, the most glaring turning point in the game. But there were several others. I made a list of turning points.
There we go.
In this game. I'll stick in the fourth quarter. OG Anunoby's getting 3 free throws.
Yep.
On the challenge by the New York Knicks. Successful. And the right call was made.
Yep.
I mean, certainly Champagne fouled him. Certainly. You don't have that. If you have used your challenge and you can't challenge that, different game.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they didn't, though, and they did, and then OG gets up and hits all 3 free throws, fantastic. But look at the other turning points. Cat's monster second quarter. Bridges, like we talked about, 7 of his first 8 shots. And I mean, big shots. We're talking 4 or 5 consecutive 3-pointers that he hit. And the 2s that he hit were tough shots.
Yep.
So, I mean, big turning points in that. But then you look on the San Antonio side in that comeback. Harper, what a stud. What a tough kid. Fox was finally De'Aaron Fox. Again, hitting tough shot. The defensive pressure on Brunson is incredible. You really get a feel for how big, strong, and athletic the Spurs guards are, the way they are able to bother Brunson. And yet, when it comes down to it, nobody in the world that you would want to have the ball in their hands other than Jalen Brunson after a horrific shooting night. And then he hits that off-balance, awkward fadeaway, bottom of the net, kisses the bottom of the net. Over Wemby, unbelievable moment.
Yeah, he's really good coming down, especially because he missed a 3 on the last play. He rimmed out a 3, and I was like, oh no, like the Knicks are gonna lose. Like the 14-0 run has gotten to them. That if Brunson doesn't have it, I don't think they have it. And then
but he just keeps coming back. He's
he's
as an opponent, he's like a bad rash. He just keeps coming back at you fearlessly, relentlessly, and he is undaunted and unaffected mentally by the kind of defense that he's had and the kind of terror. Like, what I love about modern sport is sports psychology has advanced in many respects a great deal. And one of the gifts, I think, to the modern athlete is the understanding of you have to forget the last page or the last play. A lot of the great modern athletes, they just don't live in the past at all. He's 6 for 24, but now he's 7 for 25, and that 7th was what was huge. And there was actually one article I read this morning, which I thought was interesting, which was the attention that the Spurs paid to Brunson helped the Knicks. And it really ties back to OKC. And I'm still a bit befuddled why Sean and the defense have stuck with this, trying to get the ball out of Brunson's hands. It's not that the theory isn't great, but the fact that they get the ball out of Brunson's hands, leaving open good shooters such as Bridges, such as Anunoby. Like that's what punished them last night.
Yes,
is that they created open opportunities, and you got to still make the shot. And the fact was, Bridges and Anunoby did make those shots. And by the way, Josh, how good is OG Anunoby?
He's great.
I mean, what a great basketball player on both sides of the ball.
Yep. I cannot agree more. I love OG. I've loved him since I started watching basketball. I'm all in on him. It made me sad that he wasn't going to be on the team like playing during the 19 run because he had just had an appendectomy, and so he never got to play in that playoffs. But now, like, he's probably the 3rd best player on that team behind Brunson and Towns, just with what he does on both sides of the floor. He was huge at the beginning of the playoffs too, like really elevated his game. I think he was shooting like 60, 40, 90 or something as splits and averaging like 23 points per game. We talked about him in one of our 3+1 segments. Like he is unbelievable. I could wax poetic about OG Anunoby long into the day about how much I love his game. I do have this is relating back to my last point from 3+1, which I think is damning. The Spurs being down 2-0 and heading to New York for Game 3. No MLB, NBA, or NHL team has won the title after losing Games 1 and 2 of the championship round at home since the 1996 Yankees, beginning a stretch of 4 titles in 5 years for the Bronx Bombers. That's per Opta-Stats. So pretty damning that you're going back to New York where you're down 2-0, and the last team to come back down from 2-0 after losing at home is a New York team. That seems like a bad omen.
It could be. And I love those omens in sport because so often they tend to repeat themselves. And that is what makes people nervous in situations like this. And so I'm really, again, curious because here's the thing about San Antonio. And it goes back to your point about the necessity to take Game 3. Yeah, they're young. We all know how talented they are. They just beat the defending OKC, champions, OKC Thunder, wounded OKC Thunder. Definitely, they weren't the team they were last year. Let's face it. When you do a little reflecting right now, you look at them, weren't the team they were last year. And I do find it interesting, by the way, that the Canadian SGA has come out publicly for a guy who's very quiet in expressing his desire that OKC hangs on to Lou Dort. That's a big, bold statement, especially since SGA in the final press conference after losing Game 7 talked about leaving everything relating to the team up to the world's greatest GM, Sam Presti. And then, though, because of all the rumors floating around about with the improvement of Case and Wallace, do they really need to keep another defender like that on the books? Because now they got to pay Lou. And so I found that a bit interesting. How about yourself?
Yeah, I do find that interesting, especially because, well, I mean, we all know what Lou Dort is. He's a big body. He's a little dirty and all these things. But in his post-game press conference, he was talking about Chet and like how bad he was. And, some guy, and I think he just named Chet, did not play well. And so I would be interested to see if he sort of attempts to strong arm the front office and being like, hey guys, Wemby obviously hates Chet, and these are now our biggest rivals, like for the next, I don't know, how long's my contract? 5 years? Like this is what we have to deal with for the next 5 years. And you're paying this guy a lot of money to basically do nothing. I say we keep Dort, go small, and then get rid of this bum, and maybe we bring in Giannis, even though reports coming out they're not in the Giannis sweepstakes. They're staying out of it. I don't believe that. I think Sam Presti will do whatever he needs to do to stay competitive, to as close to secure himself a championship as possible.
I think you made some good points. One of the things, though, is when you look at the trade-off of, Holmgren did not have a great series. Part of that I put on coaching. I don't think they put him in positions to have a great series. I think he was an afterthought too often on offense. But there's no coaching excuse for what Chet did in Game 7. He just, for whatever reason, froze, didn't show up, melted down, whatever it was mentally. But the thought that you would keep Lou Dort over Chet Holmgren is pure folly, because Dort was not very good or very impactful in the whole playoff run.
He's a bad
much
shooter.
much less against the Spurs. He was, and he is a bit dirty. He's a hack at times. Sometimes he's an elite defender. Sometimes he's just plain filthy that I think has injured and potentially can injure people. And I've become less of a Dort fan, and I can see why they would try to move him off the books and keep Case and Wallace. Because if I had to choose between those two players, given that they both defend about as well as each other, I'd keep Wallace because he's a better shooter.
Yep.
So, it's going to be interesting. But the fact that SGA came out with that statement. I don't know if that's Canadians rallying or if it's just a sincere feel that they need this guy to continue to be one of the foundational pillars of that OKC team that's had the success that they've had.
They've been in OKC together like since he was traded, haven't they? I think Lou Dort was their pick that year.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think it's 6 or 7 years together. That's a long time. And they're both really young guys. And I'm not saying Dort can't get better. I also think a new home might be good for him, to be honest, as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But okay, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we are going to have an interview I recorded, as I mentioned at the top of the show this morning, with Steve Sir and Craig Wilson. They're in Warsaw, Poland, at the FIBA 3x3 World Cup, and we're going to talk about all things 3x3. And in our last segment today, we're going to talk a bit about some exciting stuff that's going to be happening in our community regarding 3x3 as well. Really appreciate you being with us this morning. Glad you're spending Saturday with us here on Hoop City with Paul Sir and Josh Fenwick, and we'll be right back after these messages.